Hi there, welcome back to JD Answers. Today I have the installation of the Pormido PD80 Rearview Mirror Dashcam. Alright, let's start with assembling the mount. Okay, I got everything we need to set up the dashcam mount to the rearview mirror. This dashcam only has one wire. With all the technology this dashcam has, most dashcams will have 3 or 4 wires. This one only has one. So what we got to do is get the wire and we get our mount. And we're going to feed it through the bottom, but make sure there's nothing in the way. So you might have to adjust the mount if it's not positioned perfectly in there. So we get our wire from underneath and go straight in, and it'll come out through this side here. And we're just going to pull that wire out. And the base is going to go all the way to the dashcam. Next, we need to make sure it's positioned correctly. When we have our rear view mirror, we set it on there, on the mount, on the window shield. This is the top right here. So we got to flip the rear view mirror, and we have the buttons on the bottom. So we got top, and we have the top. So now we're able to start inserting the screws. So what we're going to do is we're going to get each screw, and we're going to get our screwdriver that was provided. And what I like about this is that it's actually magnetized. So it actually stays on there. And you see how I'm going down with the screwdriver and the screw in there. And we're just going to position it in there, hold it in there, hold the base, and we're just going to start screwing it in there. You may need to move the mount, wiggle it to get it perfectly in there. But I'm not going to tighten it. I'm going to go to the opposite side, which is right here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down the mount itself, and I'm going to move the bracket over, and that way I could get the next screw in. And I'm not going to tighten it because I need to wiggle it in case any of these screws are not lined up perfectly in there. Next one. Since this is the last one, I'm going to go ahead and tighten it. Then I'm going to tighten all of them. Next, we're going to get our covers and set them on there. And they only go one way, so you can't really mess this up. But you got to put one at a time. And what you want to do is drop it in this part first and then seat it this way. One. Same thing, you want to drop this part in first right here. And then we're just going to snap it in there. All right, it's all set. The bracket's ready. We got the wire out. So I'm going to prepare my wires. And one of the things I did is I took out a fuse from my fuse box to see exactly which kind of fuse I have compared to the Hardwire power cable. When I took out the fuse from my vehicle, I noticed that I have a low profile mini fuse, which is different from the fuses of the Hardwire kit. When I looked at the Hardwire kit, I noticed that this is a micro 2 fuse. These are different from the fuse that I have in my fuse box. But that's not a problem. There's an easy solution for this, and I'll show you how to do that. So what I'm going to have to do is get my wire cutters and just slice it here, and that way I could take this part off. I'm going to do that to both sides. So I spliced the wires and I crimped them here. Now let me show you what to do next. So what I did is I bought these wire taps, and these are very inexpensive, and I'll put links in the description down below for these. Whatever type of fuse you have, you can find it on Amazon for these wire taps. And what you do is you get one, right? There's one for each one, and this one has an opening where you could crimp in there. So you put the wire in there and then you get your crimping tool and you just push it together. Let me show you how that works. Okay, I got the wire with my wire cutter here and I'm going to crimp it together. And you see what I want to do is I want to put this part where these actually, you can see the metal, which is the metal in there, not the plastic. And that's where I have it. And if you have one of these, since this is blue, you want to use the blue part right here. And this is going to tighten it up together. So what we're going to do is I have the ACC wire, the accessory wire. And what we're going to do is we're going to insert it into the slot here, the open area there. And it's as far as it could go. So now what I'm going to do is just tighten this. Do not over tighten because you'll slice this in half. Now, before you remove your wire cutter here, just push back very lightly to see if it doesn't come out. Because if you pull it out completely, you're not going to be able to reinsert the wire. And you see how I move more toward the end and I'm doing it again. So what I'm going to do now is do a little slight tug and it's in there very good. So now this wire that was this type of fuse is now the fuse that I have, which is here, right here. This is the low profile. And I'll show you what these means in just a minute. But let's get the other one started. All right, I got the other wire. Going to insert it inside. And now I'm just going to go hold it tight, tighten it, go a little bit more to the end, do the same thing just to make sure it's tight. Do a very light tug on there, make sure it's in there and it's in there good. So this is ready, they're both are ready. When you buy these wire taps, they come with extra fuses and you need the fuse to power on the dash cam. As you see, the one that came with the Hardwire kit had a fuse in it. I got the fuse that it came with, but I'm going to put it on the outside here. And this is where it's going to go. And you're just going to center it and you're going to just push it in there, but just make sure it's in there right. All right, I got it in there. If you ever need to take out a fuse from your fuse box to insert this, you can insert that fuse right here. And I'll show you how to do that in the vehicle, but let me show how that looks. You got your wire tap and you have the original fuse that came with the Hardwire kit. And then you get the fuse that you took out of your fuse box. And that's going to go onto this slot. And that's how it looks. The outside fuse powers the dash cam. The inside fuse is for the fuse that you took out of the fuse box that powers the devices. All right, so that's how you do it. Now let's go ahead and get the next one started, which is this one here. And let me put the fuse in there. All right, we got them in. Both taps are ready. So all we got to do now is go to the vehicle and install the Hardwire kit there. I'm at my fuse box and I need to figure out which fuse I could use because there's two types of fuses, a constant fuse and a switch fuse. So now let's figure out which fuse is which. So I'm going to get my circuit tester, which is one of these, and it has a light. So every time there's power, the light will come on. And all you do is you ground it to any screw that's inside, preferably the one that's attached to the fuse box. And there's one right here, and that's the one I'm going to use. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to touch one side of the fuse because there's two sides of the fuses in there. And let me show you an example of that. You have this 20 amp fuse and there's a terminal here and here. You only need to touch one side. So next, what we got to do is look at our diagram of our fuses. And it's usually right behind the cover that you take off of your fuse box. If I look at the fuses, the first two in the top left are spares, a 15 amp and a 10 amp. The 10 amp I already used, And then you have any open slots. Any open slots if they have terminals to plug in one of your fuses. But let's see what we got to stay away from. Let's stay away from anything with the ignition, anything with an airbag, or anything to start the car. Now what we can use is the 20 amp power socket, the room lamp, blower motor, the heated mirror, audio/mirror, and FR power socket. So there's 2 power sockets in this car, so I could use either one. So let's get an example of a constant fuse. I'm going to start with this left side here. And I'm going to just test one side and the light turns on. I'm going to do it again. And the light is turning on. But we have a spare here. So let's go ahead and touch one side and you see that side turns on and then the opposite side does not turn on. Only one side turns on because that's the way the fuses are, only one side. So we know we could use these as a constant fuse. All right, here we have 2 empty spots. So let's go ahead and test all these here. This one has no power, so there's no light going to it. Nothing on the bottom. Will we touch the top? Nothing, nothing, nope, nope, nope. So all these we could use as a switch fuse, which means they only turn on when the car is on. But let's test that. Let's turn on the car. Okay, the car is on. You hear some beeps in the background. So now I'm going to retest all the ones we just tested to see if the light turns on. That light turned on. That one's on. Nothing here, but we go to the top, it turns on. Nothing here, top goes on. So we got 2 spares that we could use. We got a 20 amp, works, and a 10 amp. But let's try this spare again. Oh, that one turns on, but you notice the bottom turns on and the top doesn't. Where on this one, the top turns on, the bottom doesn't. So there's 2 different sides of this. On this one on top, it was the bottom. So I got 2 choices that I could use. I could use a spare for a constant fuse. The car is on. And for this one, I could use this one here as the witch fuse. Because this one's only on when the car is on. You see how that's on? Now let's turn off the car. And the light turned off. I'm going to use one of these spares here, one of these 2 spares, and I'm going to use a 10 amp. And the reason I'm going to use a 10 amp is to show you what happens when you have to take out a fuse, because when I put the spare, I don't need to add a fuse. The next step is to figure out which side has power. Now we figured the spares on the switch circuit we know was the top. And for this one was the bottom. You see how the constant? But we're going to take out this one here, which is the room lamp. So let's take that one out and see which side has the power. Okay, here we go. Bottom has power, top doesn't. So we know this is the one we need and the bottom has power. For the yellow wire, this is the B+. This is the constant power and it's connected to the red, the tap. So what we're going to do is we're going to have to install it upside down. And the reason we're going to install it upside down is because the power is on the outside. It needs to be connected to that side. This side carries the load. And the fuse over here, it was the bottom part that had the power. So I took out the 10 amp fuse from there. And I have it here. So all I'm going to do is install it on the empty slot. Okay, there he goes. Now I'm ready to install it. I'm going to install it upside down. Okay, we got one in. Okay, now we're ready for the next wire. And this is the accessory wire. This is the red wire. And the power was on top. So this one needs to be installed like this. And again, the power's on the top. So we're matching the power. Now, we did not take out a fuse because we're using a spare. So that's why this slot is empty. So let me go install that one next. There you go. They both are on. And you see how one is going right side and this one's upside down to match the power. Next, we're going to install the ground, and we're going to use the same bolt that we use to ground the circuit tester. All right, I got it in. I'm just going to tighten it up. All right, everything's on. It's grounded. We got the accessory and we got the constant. Now, one more thing I wanted to show you is that it actually has an extra fuse in there. So if anything happens, it's going to blow this fuse, not the one inside. So this is an extra protection that they've taken. And I like this. I'd rather this fuse being blown in case for whatever happens rather than the one in there. That way, if I have something powered on, it will still be working. Now let's continue routing the wires all the way up to the dash cam. All right, gonna put the wires back. Just push them in there. And let's close up our cover. Okay, now here's the wire coming out. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna push it behind this kick plate and go out the door. So I'm gonna route it here. And we're gonna go inside there. Now, if we ever have any slack, we could always push it back here. But since we're going to the headliner, I'm gonna put the slack up underneath the headliner. Okay, from this spot here, we're gonna go ahead and take out the weather strip here so we could put the wire behind there. You just simply push out the weather strip and it'll come out. And I'm simply gonna put it between the frame and the dashboard. I'm just gonna lay it in there. From the bottom part, all I gotta do is just put back the weather strip. Gotta fix this, and we're done. All right, we got the wire right here, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna continue going up. So what I'm gonna do is take off the weather strip again from that part we just finished to here. So just grip and pull down. And what I'm gonna do is, you see this piece here, the A-pillar to the headliner, there's a space in between. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this wire in there, and what it does is it holds it for me, so I could go ahead and line it up. Now put the wire in exactly the way we did in the bottom, between the frame, but this time the A-pillar. All I gotta do now is put back the weather strip. Now I could go inside. What I'm doing is I'm pushing the A-pillar out this way. And just with my finger, just rolling it in there. You saw how I did, just roll it in there. And we put this back. There it is. So here I could continue going to the dash cam, but I'm gonna stop right there because I need to connect this to the other cable. Since we're replacing this rear view mirror, we gotta take this one off. And the first thing you gotta do to take this off, if yours has a screw, you have to unscrew that first. My rear view mirror has a screw, so I'm gonna take that off. All right, there you go, it's off. Next we gotta do is remove this from the window sill bracket it has there. Next, we need to take off the rear view mount from the window sill mount. Now, if you're not sure how to take off your rear view mirror, you could go to YouTube, enter your car information, and enter how to remove the rear view mirror. And that's what I did on mine. To remove my rear view mirror, I'm gonna have to pull this part down. Next, you gotta get an Allen wrench or some type of thin device, thin metal, that you're gonna push inside to remove it from the mount. Your rear view mirror might be different from mine, so it might be different, but this is the way I'm gonna do it. Underneath the bracket, you're gonna have an open area that you could put an Allen wrench in. And I'm gonna push this in and pull the rear view mirror out at the same time. I'm going to tug on it while it goes in. Oh, there it goes. Well, that ran into the camera. Sorry about that. So what's happening is I'm putting the Allen wrench down and I'm pushing it out. Pushing the Allen wrench down and I'm pulling the rear view mirror out like that. And that's how it came out. Next, we're ready to install the rear view mirror. And the way we took it out is the same way we're going to push it right back in. We're just going to put it on the mount itself and slide it down. Okay, it's on there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my fingers and just put it tight in there. Push it hard in there. Now I could go ahead and tighten up the screw that it has in there already. That's the screw I need to tighten up right there. All right, that's all tightened up. Now that we got the rear view mirror installed, what we got to do is install the front camera. Now you can install it on the right side or the left side, but I'm going to install it right in the middle. I'm going to install it right there. Just remember to take off any protective coverings. All right, I took off the cover of the adhesive, and now what I'm going to do is, this is the mount. This is going to go on the window, so I'm going to position the camera forward. And I'm just going to center it to the rear view mount. But I'm going to center the lens, not the mount. I'm going to push up on there. Here's a close-up of how it looks, but I want you to notice how the lens is centered with the rear view mount. There it is, and you can see how it's centered. Next, what we got to do now is get the power cable that we installed. And I'm going to get the power that's coming from the dash cam, and I'm going to put these together. And if you're not sure how they go, just twist and eventually they'll go in together by themselves. And that's how that went. And you can see how it's turning on because we already installed the Hardwire in there. Next, I'm going to install the front camera. This is the power cables coming from there. And this is from the power cable from the Hardwire. And they're both orange. And again, all I'm going to do is just twist it and it'll go right in there. So the only one left is the rear camera. Got the rear camera right here. This is coming from the power cable, the rear camera. Again, just twist and it goes right in. So now we have all these cables, and what we're going to do is we're going to put them under the headliner. So I'm going to start with the main cable itself, and I'm just going to go straight up. And I'm going to tuck it underneath the headliner. Next, I have the front camera. I'm going to go straight up with this wire here. That way it could be together. And again, just push it in there. Push it in there. And any slack I have, I'm just going to fold it and put it in there like there. And I'll show you just a minute how it's going to look when you put the wires in there. So this is the way it looks when the wires are underneath. You got a 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch space in there. And you're simply just getting the wires and just tucking them in there with your hand. That's pretty much all you're doing. So let me continue. Next, I'm going to continue with the power cable. I'm going to fold it like this. That way I could put the slack in. The dash cam came with this cord keeper. And we're going to go ahead and install that next. We're going to put those wires inside here. Now this part right here goes into that section right there, and it creates a seal. So I opened it up. There's two pieces. So I have the wires inside like this. So now what I'm going to do is put the other cover on there. The way you put this on is you just slide it in like that, and it'll slide in there. All right, next You kind of got to work with it because the wires are stiff, so you're going to have to maneuver it a little bit. I installed the cord keeper, and you can see how it's going from the rear view mirror mount to the headliner. And from this angle, you really don't see any cords. You just got the cord keeper. All I got left is the rear camera cable, and we're going to do it the same way we did the power cable. We're just simply going to push this one out. We're going to pinch it in there, move some of the slack back out, and with the finger, we're just going to roll it in there. You can see how I push that back out again. I'm going to push the wire back out, push it with my finger in. Push this out again and just push that in there. Let's get that slack inside there. Okay, the wire's in there. Now we could continue, but this time we're going to go up, where last time we were coming from the bottom up. Next, I'm going to continue routing the wire by pulling down on the weather strip again. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put it between the frame and the headliner. But before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and pitch in the wire on this side. That way it could hold the wire for me. Right here, just pull it up a little bit more and it's inside. So next, I'm going to put in the weather strip. Okay, all that's done. Now I'm going to work in the rear window. Next, we're going to run the wire from the B pillar to the C pillar. But if this video has been helpful for you so far, please give me that thumbs up. I appreciate that for you, and it really helps the channel. And don't forget to subscribe. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off the weather strip again. I'm going to pull it to about halfway down. Then I'm going to get the wire again. And between the C pillar and the back panel, there's a slit right here. And I'm going to pinch the wire in there. Again, this is to hold it. And that's where I pinched it in. I'm going to continue routing the wire inside the B pillar. Then I'm going to put it inside the frame and the headliner between there. And push it down a little bit more to get it in. And the wire's in there. That's how it looks. So I got the cord, and I'm going to do is just simply push it between the seat and the frame. I'm just going to simply push that up, and you can see how there's space, and just push the cord in there as much as I can, making sure that it's going to the back, not going up or down. All right, I think that's about it. Now, if your seat folds down, I got a video in the description on how to route the wire inside the vehicle with your seat down. My seat doesn't fold down, so I got to use this. Okay, this red wire here coming out, actually this wire too is the wire, so I could just simply pull it out, pull everything in. All right, I'm at the end. All I have to do next is just simply put the weather strip back. So what I got to do next is run the wire to this trunk lid area here. I'm going to go on top. So what I did is I loosened all this carpet. If you're not sure how to do it, there's little upholstery clips that you could take off and it'll loosen everything in there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull this out and just put it right on top and work my way to the top, to this area right here. Now I could just push this all back together and I could put the clips back, but I'm not going to do that yet until I'm completely done. Push the wire up here. I'm at the trunk area. The next thing I did is I removed all this carpeted area off. If you're not sure how to remove the carpet area, just go on YouTube and how to remove the carpet from your trunk. And I'll give you step by step on how to do it. So I need to route the wire from inside the trunk to this area here where the rear camera is going to be. So to go from inside the trunk to the top lid, I'm going to use this outlet here. This is the wire harness secured areas. So I took these out, and that's where I'm going to run the wire. So from under the carpet, I'm simply just going to push it out in here. And that's how I got the wire. Then I could go inside this outlet. Now, there's 3 ways to do this. You could go inside here from one area to the next. This is a little bit harder. You might have to use some WD-40, but there's a way to do that. And I'll put a link in the description down below on how to do that. Or you could put the wire here and black tape it all to the wire harness. Or you could zip tie it. Those are 3 ways you could do it. I'm going to zip tie because I do a lot of dash cams installation, so I know I'm going to remove this eventually. So I'm simply going to route the wire to continue it from the top. You can see the wire here that I pulled it in there. So I could either keep going straight, which I am, and the wire is right here. So I'm now ready to connect it to the rear camera, but let's go ahead and install that first. So I have my backup camera, and I'm going to put the rear camera on the left side of the backup camera. I'm going to put a little bit back. That way, when I'm backing up, I'm away from this camera, but I could use both. And the way you route your wires inside is you use the license plate light to go inside. Most of the time there's a clip on the inside that you unclip and the light goes back and you push the wire in there. My car is a little bit more difficult. Just like the seats didn't go down, there's no outlet to go from the outside to the inside. So I had to drill a hole. Then I got to pretty much take this part out. But your car might be different. Hopefully it is. For this Maxima, I got to do 3 screws and take this out. Now with this rear camera, you could use a mount to mount it on and you could adjust it. I don't need to do that. I'm just going to go straight to the frame because even with the dash cam, you could adjust it from the software there. So I got it here and I'm going to mount it straight on there as best as I can. I think right there is good. And I'm simply just going to push in. Push it in. Now again, for this vehicle, I got to take this part out. Okay, I got it out there. See, I got it out. Push the wire in. Now for this vehicle, I want you to see how the whole thing has to come out. And you can see how I drilled holes. You shouldn't have to do that at all. It should just, this comes out and you push that right back in there. All right, going to continue with that. Going to put this back on. Now I'm going to tighten this up and we'll work on the inside. So next I got my wires. I'm going to continue routing it to this side over here. Then I'm going to get both wires and I'm simply just going to push them in together and twist and they should go in. I'm going to pull the wire a little bit more out so it could be flushed. All right, there you go. So what I'm going to do is push in the red wire a little bit more. That's pretty good. And then I'm going to push the black wire in a little bit more from the inside. Now I could go ahead and secure it to this wire harness. I'm going to zip tie this together rather than black taping it or put it inside because again, I do a lot of dash cams installations and I know I'm going to take this apart. So what I did is, so I don't have to go inside, I made a slit right here. And this slit, I'm able to put the wires in there and I could cover this back up. And I'm going to close it. Okay, that part's done. Next, I'm going to go ahead and zip tie it before I put the bottom piece in. going to push the wires to the back. There it goes. I'm going to push the wires in now from the inside. I'm going to put one more zip tie at the end, just to make sure it holds everything together when I open the trunk, open and close it. Going to close it because I made another slit in the bottom as well. And that slit really holds the wires in. All that's done. I'm going to cut these tabs off next. Now I can work my way inside the trunk. But remember, this is your preference of what you want to do. So the next thing we got to do is prepare the red wire. And what we do is we use the tail light, the reverse light, to connect the red wire to. So what you got to do is pull off your tail light. If you're not sure how to do it, just go to YouTube, enter your car information and how to remove the tail light, and it'll give you step by step on how to do that. Once you get your tail light, you flip it over and you can see those two wires coming out. One of those wires is going to be the one you need. Now, since I've been doing this a few years, I noticed that the light wires come in from the inside to the outside, so I could just tap into those. Let me show you what that is. Now, the way you connect your red wire to the inside light, see this green with black? That's the one that I'm using. That's the one that goes to the reverse light. And you can see there's already some slits that I used from installing previous cameras. So what I use are T-tabs. And what this is so the wire that you need to break, you put it in those teeth. And then you close this and it creates a seal. And that's how you do it. And then with the red wire, you connect the end of the red wire to this terminal and you put them together and it creates a circuit that goes to your backup light, to your dash cam. Now the wire already came slit there. So all I got to do is insert the terminal into the wire there. So now I'm going to put the red wire inside there. But just be careful, don't go all the way in because you don't want the wire sticking out of the terminal. You want it to create a seal. So I think I'm good. I'm going to press firmly to create that seal. Go down a little bit more. And then what you want to do is very lightly tug at it to make sure it's stiff, and it is there. So that means it's not going to come out. If you pull it out, you're going to have to use another one because it's very hard to put these back in there. Next, we're going to get our T-tap here. You can see where I have the T-tap. And all I got to do now is close it. So it's going to break the seal, which is already did the installation because I used this before. And what I'm going to do is squeeze it in. Then I'm going to get some pliers to make sure it's to create a good seal on there. I'm going to squeeze on it. I'm going to maneuver it to make sure it's good. It's good. That T-tap we installed has an opening there. And you want to make sure that that silver piece inside there goes right in the middle to create a seal. And it just goes straight in there like this. That's how you do it. And you got to make sure that the silver part is not on the outside of each end. And it's not. So that means this is working correctly. Now what you can do at the time, go to your dash cam, make sure you see the rear camera, then put your car in reverse to see if you see those grid lines before you put any of this back. Everything works here, so I'm going to go ahead and turn on the car and we're going to go through the dash cam itself. So before we start up the vehicle, I want to install the anti-glare sheet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the large cover off of it first. What I'm going to try to do is put this on at the same time I'm taking this off. So let's see, I'm trying to center it in there. I'm going to pull this slit out more and I'm going crooked. So let's do that again. I'm not very good at this, so let's keep trying. I think I got it. Yep, I got it in there. Now there's bubbles, which is fine because there's an outside piece that I got to take off, which is this one here. and you just work with it to get all those bubbles out. And in fact, I'm going to probably need to realign this just to make sure I get all the bubbles out. Try to get these bubbles out. All right, I'm going to try this again to pull it back out a little bit. And slowly with my thumb or my fingers, just push it back in there. Try to get those bubbles out or minimize them. Well, it came on because we have the Hardwire kit installed. All right, it's on. But now let's really start it up here, okay? Let's start the vehicle up. Excuse the sound of my car. There it goes, you hear it, the dash cam come on. Now let's put our car in reverse to test the backup camera function. And we're looking to see the gray lights come up. All right, car's in reverse, the gray lines are up. So that means the red wire is connected and the gray lines are shown. To adjust them up, you want to swipe to the right. There you go, you can see that. And when you're at the end, if you want to adjust them back down, swipe to the left. And there you go. And that's how you do it. That's the gray lines. And you can see the rear camera is on. Now we slide our finger to the right, you get a side by side, or you get the front camera. Now remember, to adjust it, all you got to do is move your finger to adjust the dash cam or the view that you want. Now let's go back to the back. Again, we could do the same thing and get what we want. And if you want to darken this or brightness, just touch the screen and you see that brightness come up here. Move it to the left to darken it, to the right to get it bright. To get into your settings, hit that gear icon and you're able to get into all the settings and change whatever you need there. But make sure you hit that subscribe button, select all notifications, because I got another video of how to set all the settings, how to play back videos, and also have a review of this dash cam. If this video was helpful for you, please like this video. And if you're interested in this product, I'll put links in the description down below. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.